Welcome to the Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast, starring Q the Boss.
Yo, 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 yo. Welcome back to another episode of Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast. Today, I am back with one of my favorite guests that I've ever had. She always makes this fun, and we're going to enjoy this moment because today we're talking about a special topic, but she is in the building, guys. She is in the building. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself again.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your girl Everblessed Ash. I'm so happy to be here. I haven't been here in a long time. I just flew back in from Atlanta. I'm in New York, hometown. I'm ready to talk to y'all.
Pizza up, 8-town down. Yo, listen, guys. Today we actually talking about a special topic. Hey, look, I'm rubbing my hands because I know this is about to get spicy. We're talking about toxic relationships, guys. Toxic relationship. When you hear toxic relationships, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Baby boy. That's the first thing that hits me.
Oh man, what about baby boy that makes you?
I mean, it's so crazy that we grew up like regarding baby boy as like a love story in the Black community.
Yes.
And then now that you're grown, you look back at it, like this was a horrible situation.
He was immature.
Super.
But again, she didn't give up on him. He became better.
And then what?
I think he started taking care of home.
Did he?
I guess that's how it ended, right?
I don't know.
Tell me how it ended. I don't remember.
I don't
Look,
remember.
It's
but
been
I
a
don't
while,
remember
guys.
that.
Didn't Jody grow up?
Did he grow up?
Listen, I don't remember.
What they got to say about it?
Right? We normalizing toxic things, guys. And that's genuinely, I get what you're 100% saying. And that's where the culture is in a bad space.
Right.
Have you ever, the names will be held back to protect the innocent, right? Because they're not here to tell their story.
Okay.
Because you could have been a toxic person, Ash.
Um,
You could have been a toxic person.
to some extent, I've been toxic before.
So what was like some toxic things that you ever been in as far as relationships?
Like that I've experienced or that I've done?
That you experienced?
That I've experienced.
Yes.
I feel like I talked to certain people that didn't know themselves.
Okay.
And that can lead to a lot of like insecurity.
Okay.
And then that leads to a lot of BS. You get me?
You, in the defense of the person, and I'm only saying this to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Do you think that the person may have grown up a certain way with a certain behavior,
Mm-hmm.
so that led to them behaving that way?
Yeah. And I feel like I'll take some accountability for the situation too. I feel like the reason why I was in those situations or I allowed myself to enter is because I was of the same background.
Wow.
Yeah.
Elaborate a little bit more on that. I need to hear this.
So I grew up observing toxic relationships in my family, on TV,
Yes.
in movies,
Yes.
in my community,
Yes.
etc.
Yes.
So I was not as up to par or as discerning when I started to date, and I
Okay.
didn't know any better too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're saying like we didn't know what is a healthy relationship even entail or it looks like.
Correct. Yeah.
So when did it become normal how it looks to you?
I guess you get to a point where you're like, I'm too good for this. And that's kind of the turning point. But it is normal because it's what you grew up around. It's what you're used to seeing.
Yeah.
So you kind of make excuses for it or for being in it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I will admit at one point I was very, very toxic.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be honest with you, and this is not making an excuse because sometimes when you tell your truth, people think you're making an excuse.
Yeah.
An excuse is I continue to behave as such,
Right.
holding on to that excuse forever.
Yeah.
So I'm not normalizing it. I'm not justifying it.
You're telling the truth.
I'm telling the truth.
Yeah.
We have to say that because people always take things the wrong way.
I mean, it's inevitable, but I feel like that is where it starts to help the community because some people don't know that they're being toxic
Agreed.
until somebody that was toxic is like, yo, this is how I was toxic.
See?
Yeah.
But it's how do you, I tell people all the time, without testimony, how can we fix anything?
Exactly.
So I'll tell you, like me personally,
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely at one point believed that a man shouldn't have one relationship. And growing up in the environment I come from, it was normal. More so to the point where people tease you if you told them you only had one girl, right? So they'll be like, yo, you only got one girl? Step your game up,
Yeah.
right? Even if you'll argue with someone, you'll say something like, I get more money than you. Their response is, I get more girls than you, right? And that was normal to me.
Right.
And seeing it for years, I didn't realize it was bad until I realized it was bad.
Right. Yeah.
You know, what was something you seen that was like toxic in relationships that you've at one point normalized?
Several things.
Okay.
I feel like one, always being the victim. I'm talking from like a woman's perspective as they enter toxic relationships. I feel like that could be a little bit dangerous because even though the other person may be at fault too,
Yes.
you are still not getting to the point where you can create a solution for the both of you if you refuse to say what you do wrong to.
I agree.
I think on the flip side, some women justify bad behaviors of men because they feel like all men are like that.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So
Yes.
if it's like the lesser of two evils.
Yes.
So I feel like that is something that I've experienced
Yes.
when trying to choose. And I feel like just talking down too. And you feel justified when you talk down because the person like irritated you so much or hurt you so
Yes,
much that you
yes.
feel like you could just say anything.
Yes.
But still, that's wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, one time I was talking to one of my good friends and I told her, in a lot of cases, outside of environment, right, a lot of mothers create very aggressive men.
Yeah.
And she was like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, when a woman gets mad, in a lot of cases, I'm not going to say all, in a lot of cases, she only knows how to verbally express herself irate
Yeah.
to the point where the logic has officially left the room and it's all feeling based.
Yeah.
So when a boy grows up with a mom who tends to be like more so a single mother, he sees this constant behavior.
Yeah.
So then a lot of times when the mother gets mad at the boy, she'll verbally abuse him
Yeah.
in anger, stating things like calling him out his name,
Yeah.
talking crazy to him to the point where he becomes hypersensitive to these words,
Yeah.
right? Or he normalized these words.
Yeah.
And I've seen it in both scenarios where a lot of women, when they're mad, they really talk down on their sons.
Right. Yeah.
So have you ever seen this in your life?
Certainly. I've seen that. I've also seen the opposite too. I've seen a lot of women, especially like single mothers,
Yes.
kind of coddle their sons so much so that they don't develop properly
Yes.
as it pertains to relationships with women. Like
Yes.
they feel like women should just never hold them accountable,
Yes.
love them
Yes.
regardless of what they're doing,
Yes.
et cetera. Is just a very unrealistic perspective.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. It's funny because even talking to a particular person, I said, a lot of the times, I genuinely believe that sometimes, I'm not going to say all the time, and I always got to say this because someone will always get defensive.
Always.
I think a lot of women aren't good at receiving constructive criticism.
Okay.
I don't think they're really good at it.
Okay.
And a lot of times when men speak how they feel, they rebuttal with how they feel. I'll give you a quick scenario.
Okay.
The other day I was talking to a particular woman.
Mhm.
She said, women want men with money. Of course, they're tall, dark, and handsome, right? Physically fit, all of these things. But when a man, let's say I'm 40, I want a woman that's younger, she looked at it as, that's a pervert.
Yeah.
And I said, no, that's my preference.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, that's a pervert. He wants it for control. I said, so in the same breath, I can say you only want to date the money guy because of the fact that you're a gold digger.
You okay?
And she said, no, that's not the truth. I said,
Yeah.
I'm lost.
I feel like a lot of people in general, I'm not going to just say women, but for the sake of this conversation, a
Yes.
lot of women don't really know how to reason, especially not with men.
Yes.
Because I feel like women's communication style is very emotional
Yes.
and men's communication style is very logical.
Yes.
And so it is hard, even from the perspective of a woman, to be talking to a man from an emotional place and he's responding to you logically,
Yes.
and vice versa. But
I like that.
to your point of that, I feel like that's a topic you got to be careful with when it comes to older women and older men and younger women, because that does have potential to have a little gray area in it.
Yes.
Sometimes I don't always feel like it's a bad thing
Yes.
because women emotionally mature around 11 years before men do.
I agree.
So it is likely that they're more compatible. However, one thing that I will say is I would strongly recommend a woman in that situation to have like a parent or somebody older to help guide her through that situation. I don't feel like she should go at that alone.
Wow. I actually like, the way you rationalize that, it makes extreme sense. Sometimes when we talk, I'm like, I've noticed that one of the main reasons why I like talking to Ashley is she's very logical. I don't know where you get it from, but you're very, very logical. I can go to women of 8. See, sometimes people say, is the delivery? And I'm like, no, I can talk very soft. I can talk very mellow. I can talk extremely laid back. And I think in a lot of cases, I've been noticing that a lot of women go on a defense. And I'm like, yo, this is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's not always the delivery, it's who it's coming from.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that more so. And then people will say things like, look, you have to understand. I'm like, listen, whatever you've been through, I get it. I understand it. I respect it. But in the same breath, if you're dating someone who's not allowed or comfortable expressing themselves, your relationship is already starting off very toxic.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
I agree.
Why would you say you agree with that statement?
I would agree because I feel like it's impossible that you're going to have the perfect relationship with no disagreements, no anything. I think an indication of a healthy relationship is how you problem solve.
Yes.
I don't even necessarily think arguing or yelling or anything like that is a big issue. It can be,
Yes.
but I think as long as you can communicate through it and you end up with a solution or a mutual compromise.
I like that. You know something? I'm going to give you something funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One time we were talking and I told a woman, I said, women are big on economics,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's listen, let me say this. I say this all the time. I genuinely believe you'll find more stability diggers than gold diggers.
Right.
I think more women need stability, and that's the natural aura and the essence of a woman.
Right.
So I don't knock a woman that needs that because I think that's just natural and normal.
Yeah.
So here's my question, and I always ask this question.
Yeah.
A woman needing stability from a man is natural. A man needing respect from a woman is natural.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the question. When a woman gets a guy mad, he don't compromise or make her uncomfortable economically because of his anger. When a woman gets mad, in a lot of cases, her respect for him seems to change. And I'm like, that's very unfair because now the relationship has been compromised because of the fact that he's not gonna feel the respect even when y'all go back to normal.
Okay.
Because you compromise it now in anger.
Okay. I feel like respect versus economics is they are difficult to compare.
Yes.
Because if you are angry, like let's say you grew up in an environment where if your parent got mad at you, they like berated you or talked down on you or spoke to you incorrectly.
Yes.
That is just naturally what you will do if you don't attain a level of awareness.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So I feel like respect is a little bit different than economics in a sense. I think it's harder to, in the moment, take away somebody's economics just because you're mad at them.
I agree.
But I feel like it's so easy to just disrespect somebody just because you're mad real quick.
I agree. But if you genuinely love someone,
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that a lot of times, and I don't want to keep sounding like I'm picking on women,
Yeah.
but a lot of times women can pick and choose,
Mm-hmm.
even in anger, who they're going to give their respect to regardless.
Okay.
Especially, let's say, like a boss,
Mm-hmm.
or let's say a coworker, let's say their mothers,
Mm-hmm.
right? The same guy you insult or you disrespect, in the same breath, you expect him to give you or die for you, or be willing to die for you.
Mm-hmm.
And most women would love a man that would be willing to die for them.
Yeah.
So this same man has been compromised as far as his respect. Like, wow, like she just called me every name in the book. So now I don't think it's going to continue to where it ended as far as that argument.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that? I think men more internalize things you guys say than we give light.
I think so too, but I think that a responsibility, I'm going to also hold men accountable while admitting that that's wrong,
Okay.
is that you guys need to be more communicative about how things make you feel before you internalize it. Because I feel like a big, huge thing that destroys relationship is resentment.
Agreed.
And I feel like sometimes people, you make them mad, they don't say anything, but they hold it inside. And then that resentment builds and builds and builds.
Yes.
And then that's when you see like it gets really nasty.
I,
So I
that's a
feel
fact.
like before
fact.
you get to the level, like that's where I'm at right now. Like I'm very intentional about communicating when my feelings are hurt or when I'm not feeling something or
Yes.
something like that. Cause I never want to operate out of resentment. I feel like that's a really bad place to be.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But here's my question though.
Mhm.
We, as a man, we've been taught how not to speak
Mhm.
on anything that's considerably can make us look weak.
Yeah.
So now even being vulnerable with the woman I consider my mate,
Mhm.
that's hard when you don't even know what that looks like.
Yeah.
And then let's just say before a guy started entertaining you and you guys move forward into a relationship,
Mhm.
his last 4 relationships, every time he's allowed himself to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
the woman called him out his name and said or use certain aspects about him against him.
Yeah.
So how is that? How can we change this toxic situation where we can make it safe for men to be vulnerable with the woman and not be looked at as weak?
I think that all while I can understand how difficult that is,
Yes.
I still feel like you don't shield yourself off from good because you've experienced bad. Right? So it's like I can't be like, well, I've been in my last 3 relationships, I was cheated on and mistreated. So
Yes.
I'm going to just close myself off from you while half
100%.
trying to experience you. And
100%.
I'm not giving you a chance.
100%.
You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'll say for that. While I can understand, and there is quite a bit of patience that you have to have with somebody that's walking out of that situation,
Yes.
I still feel like it's just the understanding, but accountability still. Like you have to get out of that.
I agree. But let's just say I'm dating you
Mhm.
and you get mad at me.
Mhm.
We're in your car.
Mhm.
You tell me to get the hell out your car.
Mhm.
Chances are, and we can say it's ego, we
Mhm.
can say it's pride,
Mhm.
or we could say it's just the nature of a man.
Mhm.
Ego, pride, or it could be the nature of a man.
Mhm.
I would never get in your car ever again in life
Mhm.
because I would never want to feel that moment
Mhm.
again because that moment will make me feel like I'm extremely weak, even though that I'm strong, but I feel weak for even putting myself in that position.
Right.
You know, so I've noticed that that's a very common occurrence.
Mhm.
We use what we have against each other, whether men and women. I know
Yeah.
men that will throw, I took you on a trip in a woman's face as if now she's indebted to him,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Guys, let me get on record and say this. Just because a girl took you out to eat, don't mean she owe you some sex.
Yeah.
You know, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a very cheap situation. And if you believe that, you's a weirdo. That's creepy. Like, I'm gonna take you on a date. The meal came to $350. Half of the bill is yours. Unless you like that girl that bought all those clams. Remember she bought all those clams?
The clams.
What?
That's
She was
funny.
wilding. But so let me ask you, going further, what is the most toxic trait you ever seen as far as a man when interacting with the opposite sex?
Whew. I've seen it
If
all.
you got more than one, you can give it.
And even like mostly vicariously too. I feel
Okay.
like in my regard, even though I've experienced toxic relationships, I don't feel like I've experienced the worst of the worst because of my delivery too.
Okay.
But what I've seen some pretty horrible stuff. I've seen men beat women, yell at women, call women out their names, starve women, et cetera, et cetera. I've seen the worst of the
I
worst.
could only imagine.
Yeah.
So now on the opposite side, what have you seen women do that's extremely toxic to men?
I've seen women hit men. I've seen women scream at men, berate men, talk down on men, embarrass men. You see it all the time on social media, like, like arguing on Facebook and stuff like that. Like, what are y'all doing?
I think it's a generation of look at me, I need attention.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what it is. One thing I love about this platform, we work on solutions opposed to creating more problems.
Right.
You know, you're dealing with 2 people right now who are sitting here who are comfortable in their skin. And I don't believe that we need to create content that's about creating more
Yeah.
problems socially.
Yeah.
Right. But I'll give you, me personally, I think the craziest thing I've ever seen a man do was literally put a girl out of, like throw her physically out of his car. And they're like at least 100 miles away from home.
That's crazy.
and kept her bag so she didn't have money to get home.
That's crazy.
I've seen men break women's phones because he wouldn't let her see his phone. I've seen men beat women. I've seen men verbally abuse women. I've seen men take advantage of women that they know they need. I've seen men move into women's housing knowing they have nowhere else to live and still cheat on them. I've seen that. And I think that is crazy.
I have a question.
Yes.
There's this clip going viral right now of a guy locking a woman out of their home because she came home from the club at 5 a.m. What do you think about that?
I'm gonna be honest with you, that man is very controlling, you know, and the reality of all things is community, like locking her out of, what is she, a child? Right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a conversation you and her should have. And if you feel it is not for you, you should be able to move on confident and comfortably. I think the problem I'm having is just because you and I break up, we don't have to be enemies.
Right.
Because at one point we said we love each other and we meant it.
Right.
So why now we have to be enemies because of the fact that we're not made for each other?
Right.
And I think that's crazy as hell.
Right.
How would you feel if you were that woman? Is my question.
I would feel extremely, I would feel like it had to end.
Okay.
Because locking me out on the street because I came home late, is crazy. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's like your dad.
Yeah, like my parents wouldn't even really, my parents would front. You get it? Like they would make me stay outside for a good hot little minute, but they'd who leaves somebody out on the street?
A controlling person.
That's crazy.
So here's my question. And I'm only asking this question because I'm curious. But what if he paid all the bills?
That's still exactly what we were talking about before, that economic control over somebody, kind of.
Tell her that. Tell her
You see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that level of control is just completely unhealthy.
Listen, I'll be honest with you. If I'm in that position, right, that would definitely be a conversation.
Yeah.
Once you've grown to the magnitude of maturity, you don't let yourself get to a point where you're not controlling your environment. I'd like to control my environment as far as myself, right? And anything that's in my environment, it will have respect for me.
Right.
I would never have to have a conversation with a person like that because believe you me, there's been conversations or things that led up to her disrespecting him if he felt that disrespected, right? 5 a.m., he definitely felt like, you know, but again, she's a grown woman, so who knows? What if she's celebrating her birthday? What, you know, she's out with the girls and, you know, again, if you're with someone you can't trust, why be with the person?
I feel like it's not wrong if he was upset about that. I just feel like locking somebody out of the crib is OD crazy.
I think that's like top tier.
Yeah,
sick.
That's crazy.
Like sick.
It's crazy.
Sick. So let me ask you a question. And we've all played the fool before.
Okay.
And this is why a lot of times we can end up in toxic situations. Because some of us misconstrue, as you said, you've seen certain behavior patterns that actually made you maybe believe that love was something that it wasn't.
Right.
You know, I always go to my favorite scripture in the Bible. It says, love does not impose its own will. Meaning love does not force its own will.
Right.
If someone loves me, they're not going to force what they want on me.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, if you've ever been madly in love to the point where you lost accountability to who you are or lost track of who you are, and you start saying, whoa, I'm bugging, you know,
I don't think that I've ever been madly in love. I feel like I wanted to be right about what I chose. Does that make sense?
100%.
And that was like the lack of accountability to say, you know what, Ash, you was wrong in this mistake.
Yes.
So I feel like sometimes when you choose somebody and then you're seeing the red flags, you're kind of painting it yellow, painting it green because you want to be right about what you chose so much.
Yes.
And you don't want to have to start over again. And I feel like that's the issue with a lot of women. Like a lot of women don't want to have to start over again. It's just like, okay, I chose this. I just want this to work. Like I don't want to have to start and stop and start and stop and start and stop. Yes. So I feel like that is why people get so angry because I was lying to myself for you.
Yes. You know something funny? In a defense of a woman, I genuinely believe that in most cases, we're talking about a genuine relationship. I think most women go in looking long-term.
Yeah.
Like, and I genuinely believe that more women go in looking long-term, you know, what the relationship could be. Yeah. And I also believe that a lot of women go off of potential when
Right.
talking to a
Right.
person,
Right.
right? Have you ever looked at potential and say, you know what, I'm gonna subscribe to this applicant, applicant because of the fact that he or she, he has potential.
Absolutely. And I feel like partially the reason why is because in my actual essence, in my head, I feel like my ideal is too perfect. Or that's how I felt,
Yes.
rather.
Yes.
I felt like what I really want is unattainable. So let me assess your potential.
So just give me 5 guaranteed things a person has to have.
At this point in my life,
Yes.
I feel like number one is they have to be led by something higher than themselves.
I love that.
God, whatever you believe in, Allah, something that
Okay.
keeps you grounded
Okay.
and keeps you like just stable in something, committed to something, believe
Agreed.
in something.
Agreed.
I feel like 2, routines. I feel like men should have strong routines.
Discipline.
And I feel like if men don't have strong routines, they're just bound to just end up in whatever.
Yes.
3, I think he has to be good, like kind, if that makes sense. And not just to me.
Makes sense. Extremely.
not nice, but kind.
Yeah, like has a heart.
Right.
Yeah.
And not just to
Yeah.
me, because I feel like one thing I have observed while I was dating is some people were only nice to me.
The way they treat others.
And then when I observe them treat other people, I'm like, okay, this is not genuine, and it's only a matter of time before this flips on me.
Of course.
That's
a good way to assess that.
Yeah.
Good way to assess that.
Where am I at?
I think you're 3, number 4 now.
4. 4 is confidence. I feel like it's imperative that a man is confident and secure in who he is.
Okay.
He may be aware of his flaws, but he should still know that he's good enough. Because I feel like a huge issue in a relationship is when a man feels like he doesn't deserve you subconsciously. He may not admit it to you, but
Yes.
he will act it out.
I agree.
And 5, I would say, I'm not gonna lie, this one is for me, hygiene. Not gonna lie, like hygiene. Because that, I'm watching everything, I'm not gonna lie. I pay attention to everything, and I feel like it's impossible for me to be genuinely attracted to somebody that is
Dirty.
just to stay, yeah.
Dirty
Just
guys.
no. Just no.
So you dirty guys don't even look her way.
Just no.
Listen, but those 5 things that she said, I think are extremely dope. I will say, like when dating in this world now, one thing you've touched on is I like them, all of them. But when you said that when you answer to a higher power, I think when you only answer to self, then there's no overseer.
Yeah, right.
And when there's no overseer, then it means there's no rules.
Right.
The rules can be altered based on how you feel.
How you feel, yeah.
I can change the rules, right? If there's no principal in the school, then the teachers will behave however.
Exactly.
And then there has to be a superintendent over the principal.
Right.
And then there's a board.
Right.
And it always has to be something, right?
Right.
So I like that extremely. One thing I've noticed that, and I have to say this, financially, why do so many women put so much strain on the belief of what they feel a man should be doing economically? And they know how hard it is out here financially.
I feel like it is important. Like, let's not front about it too. Like,
Okay.
it's very important that
Okay.
a man has the wanting to provide.
100%.
Not solely the ability, because there's a lot of men that have the ability, they just don't want to, right?
Mhm.
But he has the wanting to. That's going to keep him moving. One, because I feel like when people in general get stuck and stagnant and they feel like they don't have purpose, they lose themselves and that gets bad. Depression, all that.
Yes. Yes.
But I also feel like, one, the reason why it's such an issue and it's so talked about is because a lot of women feel like they're lacking that.
Yes.
And I feel like it's because of a lot of men in our generation currently, they were raised with a mother that did everything.
Agreed.
So now they feel like a woman should do everything.
Yes.
And to the point where I saw like a podcast the other day, And it was like, yeah, like I want to go 50-50, this whole 50-50 conversation.
How do you
And
feel about that?
I feel like if it is 50-50, that's okay. And it works for you, it works for you. But
516-253-1150. One more time, 516-253-1150. Call in right now if you want to talk about this particular topic. We're talking about toxic relationships. The conversation was going so good. We're going to come back to this question. Tyler, remember that question for me. Caller, what's going on, caller? I put on speaker, I can't hear. What's going on, caller? Yes.
Oh, just one moment. I'm
Right here.
sorry. Okay, so with my situation, what's been going on, and I have a question about it. My significant other of 11 years. Okay, so when I was younger, a family member had did something to me, but they was a kid as well, and I still go around that family member sometimes, like when I'm somewhere and not knowing that person might pop up. Well, okay, so my significant other, he always brings up like, okay, well, F your family, F your family. And that's fine. I don't care that he says that, but it just keeps bringing it up, like what happened to me when I was younger. He keeps just throwing it in my face.
Wow. Ashley, I'm going to let you answer that, Ash.
Yes.
I want me to start.
You can start.
I think I've noticed that a lot of people do that because of a means of control. I think that if a person is constantly throwing in your face something that's bothers you, right? That's like automatically everyday reliving your trauma. And I genuinely believe that's very, very, very toxic. And the reason why I say that is because how can you heal when you constantly having the scab picked at? And every time, especially from someone you love, the person you love and care for is constantly picking your scabs. And I think that's very unfair for you to have to even endure that, right? But I could believe that that's a means of controlling the situation. What do you think, Ash?
I would ask,
Exactly.
how is that person throwing it in your face? Like, what are they saying to you exactly?
For instance, yesterday, I went and got something for Christmas. Okay, I went and got my brother something. It was my brother. Mm-hmm. I went and got something for Christmas for another brother that asked me to get something for my niece because he's out of town. Mm-hmm. So I went to K Jewelers and got it for my niece, and my boyfriend, he got mad talking about, you still doing stuff for your family. You must have feelings for your family because why would you be around your family? And I keep trying to explain to him, it wasn't all my family. It was one person. But he don't want me to talk to none of them, none of my family. Mm-hmm. I have 6 brothers. Okay. But he don't want me to talk to none of them just because it happened with one of them.
So what do you think, Ash?
To be entirely neutral or try to be neutral in the situation, I feel like it's not, the delivery may be very, very, very off, but from how I can see it, I don't feel like the intention is trying to be bad. I feel like if certain people have caused you pain and it's been brushed to the side, somebody that really cares about you wants you out of that situation and wants you to remove yourself from that situation. Sometimes their delivery may not be the best. They may bring it up in a manner that is painful for you or hurts you, and that's incorrect. That's not right. And you shouldn't have to hear it that way, right? But at the same time, if the person's intention is to get you away from a situation that hurt you and swept it under the rug and didn't address it properly to aid in your healing, then I don't feel like their intentions are bad. I feel like their delivery is bad. And that is a conversation that you should have.
I tried to have that conversation with him last night, but it went left and he got mad. And that's when he was saying he thinks that I have feelings for my own brothers. And
that's
another thing, I just started going to the doctor to try to get like medicine for like depression and stuff.
Wow.
And now he keeps saying, like today, he's saying, because we got into like a little argument, and he was like, yeah, something is wrong with you. Your people got you messed up and you need to take your medicine. So now that I'm trying to heal from it, he's throwing it up in my face like, you on medicine, you don't know what you're talking about, or
You know,
need
you
to
you
take
you
your
know, you know.
medicine.
Sometimes I've noticed that you know, that I've been in situations like that
Mhm.
where I'm constantly reminded of my flaws,
Mhm.
and I acknowledge it. And I'm comfortable with accepting and stating my flaws. But I feel like sometimes people do it for control. You
Yeah.
know, it's like I always use the dollar bill held over your head for the person that can't pay bills.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes people do that, and it's bad if that's the case. It's a 50-50 situation. This
Yeah.
situation could be a toss up. I would want to hear why he thinks that way.
I felt like I heard the first part incorrectly.
Yes.
So I feel like that's unacceptable.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that's
And
totally
also with the
completely
50-50, because
unfair
I
and
was just
unacceptable.
watching. Oh,
Say it again.
my apologies. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just saying, like, back to the 50-50. We've been together about 12 years, almost 12 years, and
Okay.
I don't ask him for anything. He don't help pay bills. We don't do 50-50 at all. He just got his own
Can
place,
can I ask you a question?
like 5 months ago. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Why do you call this person your partner?
Wow. Wow. I don't know how to answer that. I don't know.
You know what it is. Let me ask you. How did you grow up? You grew up in a broken home.
Yes.
Sometimes when we grow up in broken homes, we hold on to relationships because we look for comfort based on what we didn't receive as the children that became adults. And as adults, we still look for refuge from what we've been through as children. And what I'm hearing from you personally is it's more self-development more than his side. Because sometimes it's easy to talk from the outside, but in order to see the inside, you have to see what's wrong with self. And sometimes we avoid that. And that might be the conversation that might be had first, is you might need to ask yourself, why am I tolerating and dealing with this behavior? Because people only do to you what you allow.
Right. Yeah, I feel
Oh,
like
Okay.
that's totally
That's
not
unacceptable.
right.
That's
It's
unacceptable.
unacceptable. And I don't feel like that, especially if you are in the process of taking enough accountability to try
Yes.
to heal yourself and having somebody like prick you right where it hurts, where they know that it hurts instead of trying to help you.
Yes.
I feel like that's totally unacceptable.
100%. Sister, I love you. I appreciate you so much. And thank you for the call. And, you added a lot of substance and value
No,
to this
thank you
conversation
too.
today. I love you. And I'm definitely going to pray on you.
Thank you.
And if you need me, you can DM me.
Thank you for your vulnerability.
Thank you for your vulnerability. Exactly. But guys, sometimes, based on the way you were raised, we tend to allow certain behavior patterns. And we got to work on what we allow. And I'm going to be honest with you. I've played that before, Ash, where I looked in the mirror at times. And on my album I just released, it's called The Fear of the Unknown. The Fear of the Unknown. I have a particular track. It's called Walk Away. And Walk Away is actually talking about giving in so much to the relationship where you lose you. And then you look in the mirror, you don't even recognize yourself. And there was a relationship in my younger years where I overly compensated for the relationship to the point where I lost myself.
Right.
Have you ever been in a situation where you lost yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. It was hard to leave that situation, but I did, and I'm happy that I did. And I feel like I would not be who I am now had I stayed there in a situation that didn't serve me.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
And I remember, I'll tell you something crazy. And there are no names, no shade, no nothing, right? But I've dated a particular woman to the point where she actually made, well, no, I'm not gonna say made. Let's take that back because they only do what we allow.
Mhm.
I started believing that my mom was my enemy and my family were my enemies.
Mhm.
And it was the means of she understood psychology
Mhm.
and she would use certain triggers and certain traumas against me to make me basically relive it to the point where I was like blocking out certain people in my life that was in my family. And it was her way of controlling me and pulling me more into what she wanted. And I didn't realize it to the point where I'm like, yo, you know what? Everything we do is all about you, what you want, how you want it, and when you want it.
Mhm.
And I've never realized that I was overly compensating
Yeah.
because I was trying to create a healthy home, or what I thought looked like a healthy home,
Yeah.
because of the fact that I come from a broken home.
Right.
You know,
And I feel like from my perspective, what my situation was is I understood somebody's pain and I understood where it came from and I understood their traumas and I
Yes.
wanted to help heal them.
yes,
So much so that I didn't put myself first.
wow, wow.
Yeah.
Someone on the live just said, "Not all snakes hiss.
You're right.
Not all snakes hiss."
Right.
And I have to give you a bomb for that. You're right. But it's weird when you. The one thing I love what you said to her is thank you for your vulnerability. It took me years to become or be that, right, or
Yeah.
allow myself to be vulnerable.
Right.
There's a guy by the name Jay Jenkins, Jeezy.
Mhm.
That's one of my guys. And Jeezy, the way he's starting to heal, I'm actually loving the process because from a relatability standpoint, I can relate to a lot of his stories.
Yeah.
I can relate to a lot of things he's been through. And I want the world to get to the point where more men will be comfortable expressing their feelings and what
Right.
they're going through. I genuinely believe that's why y'all outlive us.
Yeah.
I think that's why I'm being honest.
No, seriously.
I think that's why y'all outlive us.
That's the thing. Like all those emotions don't go anywhere if you don't release them.
Yes.
They stay inside and they kind of rot you. And you're so unaware and so out of touch, you don't realize what's wrong. You know something's wrong, you know something's off, but you don't know what it is. And it's
Wow.
all those emotions you never addressed.
There was a question I asked you a minute ago.
Mhm.
What was this question? I want to go back to it. I don't want to skip over. It was actually a good question before the caller called in. You recall?
I do not recall.
So let's create another question. So look, ideally,
Mhm.
what does a healthy relationship look like to you?
I feel like a healthy relationship is communication, like over everything.
Agreed.
And the way that you communicate, and even if you don't agree, having respect for somebody's perspective, having
Yes.
enough respect to understand somebody's perspective, even if you don't agree.
I love that.
Another thing is consideration.
Yes.
I feel like you need to have consideration for the person no matter what emotional state you're in right now.
Wow.
So I feel like having respect and consideration, if you're mad, angry, sad, you just want to be alone, etc.
Yes.
Whatever the case may be, there has to be a level of consideration that you just don't go under.
Agreed. Agreed.
And 3, I think that you guys have to like each other. I feel like a lot of people don't really like each other.
They tolerate each other.
Yeah. And not to say that people don't change. One aspect I will say is women change a lot. It's just in our nature. Like we literally go through phases every month
Yes.
that affect our hormones and affect our moods and emotions, etc. And then over the course of life, you're supposed to change. You're not supposed to be the same person. I feel like a lot of men are not equipped to understand all of the changes that women go through.
I agree. I agree with that. You know something funny?
Mhm.
Today we was actually having this conversation, and a lady was at my store today. She said, "It's weird how, men change so much and they this and they that." I said, "Let's have this conversation." And she said, "What?" I said, "In a lot of cases, when the man meets the woman in the beginning, she's a super freak, right? Everywhere, whenever, however, whatever he wants.
Okay.
In the car, in the woods, in the bushes, behind the tree,
Uh-huh.
it's going down.
Uh-huh.
Then after they've been together for so long,
Mhm.
all that changed. And now he has to start scheduling moments of passion, which is extremely needed by a man. That's extremely needed by a man in a relationship.
Okay, I have a response.
Sex. I'm listening to this.
I feel
There's
like
two of us in here today, so don't get jumped. There's two guys here today.
there's a pattern. I feel like what you are doing that is turning her on in the beginning is not what you're doing now.
That could be true.
I think that oftentimes when a relationship is fresh, you're actively pursuing the woman, you're doing small romantic gestures throughout the day to women are triggered sexually differently than men are.
Elaborate.
I think men are significantly more visual than women are. Women do typically will not just look at a guy and get turned on.
Yes.
Especially not somebody that you've been next to or seeing for so long. I feel like women, one, it's where you are mentally. If somebody takes a lot of load off of you mentally, you're significantly more likely to be into that. And I feel like just nice little sweet things that people do throughout the course of the day. Intimacy for women is not one shot, one kill right then and there. It's just a small collective of things that you're doing that make somebody want to be there. So I feel like there's a pattern. It's kind of like always like, oh, women are like this and then they're like this, but you don't see where you were like this and then you stop being like that and it became like a demand. When something is like a demand, there's no, you don't want to do it.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like, oh, you owe me this and why aren't you doing this? And it's like, why don't you inspire that in me instead of demanding it?
I actually like that, guys. You heard that? Look, I'm gonna give you some flowers. I'm not gonna even. And that was the way you worded that. If a man is on my live today and don't understand that, I think you should rewind this interview and actually dissect what she just said. I genuinely believe that in order to understand women, guys, we have to be able to listen to women.
Right.
And women to understand men, we have to be able to understand each other. When I always have this conversation, I always bring it back to like, it's like a Christian and a Muslim having a conversation about their beliefs.
Right.
Even though we may not worship the same way, at the end of the day, the goal is the same.
Yeah.
So when a person understands that my goal is to have a healthy home, your goal is to have a healthy home. So if that's genuinely our goal, we have to learn how to hear each other, even when we don't want to hear each other.
Right.
The one thing I like what you said is having the respect, right, to respect your opinion, at least to the point where you fully stay in your sentence. I told a girl the other day, I said, if I look you in your face right now and then I say you're ugly and you cut me off, you're gonna be like, damn, Q, you called me ugly, right? But if you let me finish my chain of thought, I would have said, Ashley, you're ugly when you're angry. Now the whole context of the conversation has completely changed. See, I'm villainized because a lot of times we don't let people finish their statements.
Right.
I would rather know you disrespected me all the way than hear it partially. So I'm gonna let you finish your chain of thought so I know how to approach that situation going forward.
Right.
You know, so let me ask, in toxic relationships, we believe that in most cases it's because of environment and also upbringing.
Correct. Absolutely. I feel like upbringing has a lot to do with your relationships because those are the first relationships you develop. The first relationship you have with the opposite sex is your parent. So if you had any abnormalities or awkward or it didn't flow correctly or they gave you too much love and didn't hold you accountable or there was too much accountability and not a balance of love, you will be maladaptive in relationships.
That makes every bit of sense because I know there's a young guy that actually come to my store. He overtalks adults and he doesn't have the accomplishments. And he'll talk to people that has way more accomplishments than him. And they were not adding value. I told him, I said, look, when you talk to people who are of a certain status, I think you should go with your ears, then add value to the conversation. Right. Not belittling you, but showing a difference that you're young, but you have the ability to hear. Right. Therefore, the person that's talking to you will be more confident with having furthering conversation with you, right? Yeah. And I explained that to him. He couldn't understand. He was like, they're gonna have to respect me. I'm like, whoa. Yeah. This is a requirement now to be with me. It's like you let the local weed head hit it, and now you got these high standards with me. And don't get me wrong, I get it. You can up your standards. I get it. Yeah. But men don't think like that.
Yeah. You know? I think men don't think like that. I think that the thing about it is it says a lot about how you perceive somebody, how you receive somebody, right? Yes. Regardless of where I'm used to, right? If I come into your life and I see you go to Philippe Chow's, but then you want to take me to McDonald's, it's like, whoa.
I looked at your story before I bagged you. You was always at McDonald's.
No, but that's the thing. It's like, okay, like you reduced your own standard for me. So what does that say about how you see me?
Maybe my approach is, not trying to lead with my pockets.
I don't think that's your approach because that you are leading with your pockets to society. If I can go on your story and see that you eat at Philippe Child's every Friday night, and then you go on a date with me and you want to take me to McDonald's, you just don't view me as on your level.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
You see what I'm saying?
100%. I agree with that statement. You know, sometimes, you know, it's like you saying, when we talk, is the communication factor. Like a lot of the times our communication sucks between men and women. I think, as you said, we should date our friend. And if you marry your friend, it's easier to have a conversation because now you don't have to come with a means of always defending yourself.
Yeah.
You know, we could hear each other because of the fact that the relatability there, the respect is there, and the bond that you've built. You know, I always tell people, would you genuinely want to hurt a friend? I think I'm more likely to hurt someone I love than someone I respect. I'm going to be honest with you. From my existence, I've hurt more people I love than more people I respect. And I'm just being honest because for me, respect is more than valid than love.
What makes you respect somebody?
Respect is how we intermingle with each other, how you've conducted me, how you made me feel, right? Accomplishments. When I speak, how are you receptive with giving me the same level of ear as I'm willing to give you. It could be a lot of different factors. You know, I've definitely got to throw accomplishments in there. We do respect accomplished people a lot more. Yeah. Let's just call it what it is. I'm not saying someone under-accomplished can't teach me something, accomplishments. But the reason why I say that is love, people believe that, you know, the butterflies you meet when you first have the honeymoon stage, they think that is like, that's gonna last.
Yeah.
But I genuinely believe that love is a conscious decision that you have to make every day.
Yeah.
You have to choose to love someone.
Yeah.
Right? And meaning your flaws and all, I'm willing to accept, you know, totally what comes with being with you. And I think that's when I can look in the mirror and say, damn, she loves me enough where she accepts my flaws. And she look in the mirror and says, damn, he loves me enough where he accepts my flaws. I think that's when you start having a healthy relationship. When you stop pointing the finger at what she does, but you also see what you do.
Yeah.
You know, have you ever been in a situation where you felt someone was extremely, what's the word? They codependent on you, where they feel like financially, you supposed
financially?
to carry, say financially or emotionally.
Not financially. I've never had anybody be
Ashley never had a bum.
It's not that I've never had a bum, but I've never had anybody depend on me financially either.
So wait,
I've had somebody that didn't know how to advance themselves.
But it was content.
Right. Or they wanted more for themselves, but they didn't know what to do, but they were too stubborn to listen.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? But I've never had somebody like, you know, hands up, cash out. If I wanted to do something for somebody, I did it. But I never had anybody like, you get me? I feel like but emotionally codependent, yes, a lot. And I think that it's because I am very loving and very healthy.
Yes.
And I feel like that's not something a lot of people experience regularly.
Yes.
So sometimes they want to have a codependent relationship with me, and I'm not really interested in having a codependent relationship.
You're like, I'm gonna be honest with you, and when I say this, I don't mean it's based on looks. You're like a Honda with a Ferrari engine, because your looks, you're beautiful, but when you learn the inner, you see how intelligent you are.
Yeah.
Most people will look at you like she's a Ferrari.
Yeah.
But not realize the engine matches the look.
Yeah.
Right? That's genuinely how I feel with you. You're very intelligent. So that's one of the reasons why I even like having conversations with you, because I realize that you can see that you've done a lot of self-development.
Yeah.
And self-development. And I think a lot of people don't understand self-development, how it even entails where you're willing to sit down with yourself and not take everything personal. One of the women, I go to a shake shop every morning. After I go to the gym, we had a conversation one time, and I've noticed that people personalize every conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
like for instance, if you came in a room and said, a lot of men, and I'm generalizing this, a lot of men don't take care of their children, I won't flinch at it because that's not my character. But I've noticed that a lot of people, they personalize that because maybe the shoe fits. So I always notice that. So let me ask you, when having a discussion with someone that is very defensive, how does that even conversation go with you?
I think that I know how to speak to people properly to take their defenses down in a sense.
Wow.
It's not always 100% foolproof, but I think most people will not be as defensive with me as they will be with the standard person. I do feel like one powerful method of communication is a sandwich, like a criticism sandwich. You tell somebody what they do good, you tell them what they could improve on, and you finish off with a compliment too. I think that that's how
you crazy, but you cute.
You see what I'm saying?
That's the bad B word, right?
So it's like, you do this well, but you can improve on this one, but I still appreciate you for this.
Wow.
So I feel like people are significantly more likely to not be defensive in the way that you communicate with them.
Yes.
Some people, inevitably, they're just so closed-minded and they're choosing to be closed-minded that there's nothing you can do.
Yes.
And in those cases, you just, hey, like, it is what it is. I respect you. You respect me. Let's move on.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
And I want you to honestly say this.
Okay.
Do you think with criticism, women are more honest with women? Or do you believe men are more honest with men?
I think men are more honest with men.
Way more.
I was having this conversation the other day too. It's just the way that you guys speak, right? It's a very logical response and there's no emotion in it.
Yes.
And when you're speaking to women, and this is advice for men, if you actually want to get through to women, you're going to have to do the sandwich thing with emotion. Like, you just have to. It's just like, okay, if I want to resonate with a man, I have to be a little bit more logical. But at the same token, if you want to resonate with a woman, you got to get a little bit more emotional.
Wow.
Or make space to take care of her emotions within that conversation. You'll get so much out of a woman. I feel like men are so logic-based, and it's like, no, you just need to be quiet and understand what I'm saying, because what I'm saying makes sense.
It does.
But it's like, it doesn't resonate with me because there's no space for emotion in it. You see what I'm saying? Like, okay, I understand how you feel. This is how you could look at it, this is how I'm looking at it, but I really do understand how you feel, though. If I was you, I would feel like this. Make space for the person's perception within your explanation.
So you always gotta give an undertone.
Always.
Wow.
That's just how people are wired.
Yeah. Women?
Everybody. Because with men, if I'm having a conversation with a man and I don't want him to be defensive, I have to understand his perspective and let him know that I'm reiterate to him that I get it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I get it from a logical perspective. Here's my emotional piece. You see what I'm saying? But okay, what you're saying makes sense. Usually, if you tell a guy what you're saying makes sense, he's fine. There's no defense after that.
You know how we take it though, right?
How you take it?
Damn, she's wrong and strong. Like, damn, like that's how a man's like, oh my God, she's brolic with the wrongness.
But at the same time, it's just a different perspective. And it's just like, oftentimes you guys take it as like, it's your perspective versus mine, and your perspective makes sense.
Yes.
It's a logical perspective.
Yes.
My angle is not logical. My angle is of my essence. It's emotional. It's what makes me me. It's what makes me good.
Yes.
Right? Women are nurturing. Women are, take care of you, emotional.
Yes,
but then there's a flip side to that too.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, I need to be emotionally validated when we are having a discussion.
I agree. So basically, if she's not feeling like she's being heard,
right,
she already canceled out the conversation.
Facts.
So therefore, she's gonna just keep arguing opposed to
Facts.
It makes sense, because I mean, a lot of men are like that now too. And a lot of the times, I hate to say this, but they grew up with their moms.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's a good response?
What's a good response to make her feel heard?
Yeah.
Reiterating what she just told you. Right? If I said, most women, when they're talking to you, they'll say, I feel like, right? Once you hear the I feel like, I just think you see what I'm saying? Those already tell you what the angle is of that woman. So it's like, okay, so you feel like this because I did this?
Yes.
All right, like I understand. Like I would probably feel like that too. But here's how I intended it to be.
Makes sense.
You see what I'm saying? I wasn't even on it like this when I said this. This is how I was really on it.
So you got to kind of coach him up.
Yeah.
Wow. It makes sense. Because a lot of times a man will talk to a woman. He's going to go straight to logic.
Yeah.
And if she's not hearing his logic, therefore, he going to hit her with, you slow.
Yeah.
You just don't listen.
Yeah.
But again, I understand because her feelings have. I always say, logic has left the room and feelings have entered the room.
Yeah, but
know-
it's a balance. Like, I think you guys are so trained to push your feelings to the side, you don't even know how to incorporate it within an explanation anymore. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
And that's unhealthy within itself. Yes,
Yes.
logic is logic. It's inescapable, but emotions are a part of the human experience.
I agree 100%.
You see what I'm saying?
You know, one of the guys and I were talking the other day, and I said, we have to accept that men and women think different. He said, I disagree. I said, no, we do. And he said, give me an example. I said, in most cases, and I always say this, in most cases, women care where a man is going with his life.
Yeah.
Men, in most cases, care where a woman's been with her life. And the reason why I say that is because when a man takes on a woman from where she's starting with him, a real man plans on leading from that point on. So therefore, he has to know what he's leading. He has to know that he's leading a woman that's carried herself of a certain echelons, opposed to just attaching himself to someone who's going to embarrass him based on the substance of him or he feels the king he is, right?
Yeah.
And I genuinely believe that. A woman is more forgiving of a man's past
Yeah.
because they care about more so where he's going.
I feel like it's very different, like the societal norms
Yes.
of both sexes, they're
Yes.
different. You see what I'm
Yes.
saying? I feel like inevitably speaking, you know that you're with the right person if they can tolerate whatever comes with you.
Wow. Wow.
You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
So, and then it furthers depending on your path in life, right?
Yes,
If you
yes.
have a path in life where you're supposed to be on the forefront, people naturally kind of want to humble you.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that's always going to be an aspect. I feel like if you know in your life purpose, you're supposed to be in the spotlight, you need to have somebody that can handle that and all that comes with that.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So I feel like it matches up where it's supposed to.
Agreed. So I have to ask this question before we get out of here today. What do
Sure.
you think are some red flags that you should be skeptical when dating for toxic people? Like something that's that person's toxic.
I feel like one, you need to observe the person outside of you. Like indefinitely, you will probably know everything you need to know if you observe somebody move in society.
Okay.
How they treat their parents, how they treat the waiter, how they treat people that are outside of you, because people put their best face forward for you.
The representative.
Right.
Yes.
Two, the way that somebody communicates with you when you disagree on something.
Yes.
If they automatically belittle you or reduce your opinion or don't make space. And not to say that everybody's going to be perfect at that. Sometimes you just need to chop it with somebody like, yo, you need to make me feel heard because you're not right now.
Yes.
Like everybody's not perfect. Everybody's not this healed version, completely 100% healed version.
There's a lot of gray area.
But at the same time, how somebody receives your communication when you say it like that is extremely important.
How do I receive your communication?
I think you receive my communication pretty well.
I think it's about respect.
Yeah.
But keep going. I'm listening if you got any more.
I feel
You're
like
taking notes.
the way somebody gets angry or emotional is very important. And that's something that you need to see before you take somebody serious. You should see them get angry. You should see them get emotional. And what do they do with themselves and what are they prone to doing with themselves?
Yes.
That's pretty much all I got from now. I think people are consistent.
Yes.
How people maneuver in different areas of their life is indicative of how they will maneuver with you.
So here's my question. And I always say this, guys. Meeting a woman, how would you feel? A guy calls you, say, yo, I want to get to know you. You said, let's meet up. He tells you, let's meet up at Starbucks.
Okay.
You sit at Starbucks. He wants to genuinely get to know you. He wants to hear you in an environment that's comfortable for us to really hear each other
Yeah.
and also build
Yeah.
before he starts investing, right? How would you feel about a man doing that?
I'm not really opposed to the whole Starbucks thing
You see
because
that list, right?
my
You see that
time
list?
my time is valuable too.
Yes.
I don't want to burn time and be
Yes.
seen with somebody in society with somebody that I don't even know if I like. You see what I'm saying? I just don't want to be seen with you and I don't even know if I like you or
Yes.
I don't even, you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I'm not opposed to the whole Starbucks thing. In a lot of women's defense, I'll say that people should put their best foot forward in a
Yes.
sense when
Yes.
trying to court you.
Yes.
I do believe in that, right? But at the same time, I'm not on the first. Me personally, my trajectory is that one, I'm probably gonna watch you first.
Yes.
It's very rare that I meet somebody today and then we plan a date or plan to meet up.
Yes.
That's very rare of me to do,
Yes.
right? I will observe you first a little bit. Then I'll speak to you probably over the phone a couple times,
Yes.
FaceTime, and then we could plan to go out.
You know what I always say in my mind, if a woman genuinely knows she's not easy,
Mhm.
why are we demanding the high, expensive dates
Mhm.
when we genuinely trying to get to know each other?
I just will say that. I think a lot of women are just like, put your best foot forward
Makes sense.
if I'm valuable to you.
I think I did by giving you my time.
I can understand that. But
Look, when we always talk about that.
Mhm,
Like as a man, I've always chased purpose,
mhm.
and for me to compromise my time to be around you,
Mhm.
that shows how much I value you.
In your perspective, in your league, 99% of men are not necessarily on it like that.
Yes.
And there are a lot of men that have a lot of time on their hands.
I agree. And that's why he's taking you to Philippe Childs and he's gonna expect, and then he's spending economics that he really can't afford.
Right.
And then on top of it, he's gonna resent you if it don't pan out to be anything.
Right.
You know?
And again, a lot of women are not thinking that far. It's just like, okay, if I am valuable to you, put your best foot forward. Especially, and then you have a lot of women nowadays that are just used to that. Like I take myself out to nice places.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? I'm not waiting on somebody to do that for me.
She
So
dates herself a lot, guys.
you see what I'm saying? So like if
She make it look like she's on a date.
I don't make it look like I post my plate.
Women that are on dates do that also.
Okay.
So you gotta show the empty seat for now. on,
Okay, I'm gonna show the empty seat
Show
from
the
now
empty
on,
seat.
y'all.
Right? Look, she'll show her plate and it looks like a date for guys.
Okay.
So here's my question before we get out of here. How
Okay.
can they keep up with you, Ash?
How could they keep up with me?
No, they love you. You know, every time, just so you know, guys know, last year, you already see it. Last year, me and Ash had one of the dopest episodes last year, guys. So anyone that follows this podcast religiously, go check it out. We even brought her baby sister, and her baby sister was dope also. Ash is one of the very, I'm not going to say, she's a woman that I genuinely feel that every time we sit down and do this, we build. We actually learn from each other, right? Yeah, say your ad name, Ash.
Everbless Ash, EverblessAsh.
The podcast is called Don't Let That Go Over Your Head. See, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. Me and Ashley are actually looking forward to doing a lot more content. It would be a lot more of us if Ashley was in a state, but Ashley's currently in Atlanta. But we're trying to get Ashley back to New York, right? Because, guys, this makes a lot of sense. But again, for those who jumped on this live, for those who watch the content religiously and faithfully, I just want to tell you thank you. I appreciate you. Show Ash some love one more time. Drop that.
Thank you,
drop
guys.
that one more
Thanks for
time.
having me, Q. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it. I
drop-
love coming on here every time.
Listen, it's perfect, right? For those,
Thank you.
listen, for those who want to keep up with the podcast, right? It's called Don't Let That Go Over Your Head. It's on every streaming server there is. Don't let that go over your head. We're gonna keep running this thing up until next time, guys. Don't let that go over your head.